Hi guys, I hope you're well. I wanted to come back and tie the bow a little bit on my driving series that started 3 years ago when I was 25 and I just started learning how to drive, because I finally passed my test. It was the first test I actually took after like maybe 3 or 4 different attempts of booking a test. So I passed on my first time, which is amazing. But I had been learning for like 3 years on and off. So if I didn't pass first time, I would have been so annoyed at myself, because if you're in the UK and you're learning to drive or trying to take a test, you'll know how long the waiting times are at the moment. But luckily I passed it. Like I say, I started to learn how to drive in 2019, so just before COVID kicked off, and obviously that was one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually take my test. I straightened my hair so nicely and it looks a mess now. Anyway, I have my test certificate here and yeah, I can't believe it. No, it's been 6 months since my test and I'm only just making this video, so I just thought it'd be really cool to do a little update, talk about my driving test experience, and also talk about like how much money I'd spent on lessons and how many hours that I did, that sort of thing. So if you are interested, then keep watching. I'm 28 and I passed my test in March of this year. Not to keep talking about the age thing, it's not really that important, but I am aware that like the majority of learners and people that take tests are like 17 to 21-year-olds. And I think a lot of the content online is aimed towards them because they are the majority age of people taking tests. I certainly felt when I was 25 that I was like old, and especially on YouTube and stuff, a lot of it is aimed towards younger people. Just here to encourage you that if you are a little bit older, then keep pushing, you're absolutely fine. So I've got my notebook here because I actually spent some time last night writing out all of the hours and all of the money that I'd spent on taking lessons, because it's a lot. If you haven't watched my previous videos, and like I say, don't feel like you have to because they're not amazing videos, but I talked about like how I changed instructor quite a few times. In total, I've actually had 5 instructors, and like I say, I started lessons in June 2019. I had like either months or years break in between. The instructors that I had varied, so 3 of them were independent and 2 of them were from Red Driving School. So the prices did vary. Most of the prices were the same at like £28 an hour, but some of them were 23, some were 27. So what I thought would be fun to do is to add up the amounts of each like instructor and tell you the total amount that I'd spent on driving lessons. Let's do that now. This video doesn't have any instructor, by the way, so just bear with me. Oh my god, that makes me feel sick. £1,687 I've spent on lessons. Is that a lot? What I'm going to do is I'm going to add up all the hours of driving lessons that I've had just to see. Okay, so I've done 64 hours of lessons in total. Now, about 3 of those hours I didn't actually do because I had to cancel last minute. I had to cancel twice, so one of them was like a 2-hour session, one of them was a 1-hour session. So I paid for 64 hours, but I've actually really done like 61. People say you need to have 40 hours of lessons on average in order to pass your tests. And I've heard that with those 40 hours you should also be doing additional hours like outside of your lessons. I had no one to sort of take me out in their car to give me additional hours on the road, so I actually think that 64 hours isn't that bad, and that price that I paid is actually not as bad as I thought. I think that's like quite realistic for what I needed. In my head I thought that I'd overspent and I'd like overdone lessons. So should we talk about the actual test then? So it was booked for 10:14 in the morning. Now all of my lessons luckily were around that time anyway. I had that to my advantage luckily. My instructor, she did sort of take me around a lot of the test routes, but the actual route that we did on my test I had never done before. So my instructor, she's a lovely woman and I'm so glad that I had her before my test because she was just so calm. She took me through everything and she like got me back up to like test standard basically. I started lessons with her in November of Was it November? Yeah, late November 2022. Was quite like nervous about taking my test. So I've just had a mock test with my driving instructor and I actually would have passed that, didn't fail it. I'm so relieved. I was so stressed. I've been nervous all last week because I didn't have a lesson last week. She had to cancel because there was a mix up with booking people in. Anyway, but all week I've been watching mock testing videos on YouTube, and then today I knew that we were going to do a mock test and I got 11 minors. No serious faults, that's good. The minors, a lot of them were for like checking. I think I didn't check my blind spot on a couple of occasions. We went round a car and I forgot to check my mirrors then. So just like little things, just feel so relieved. Obviously I know that this doesn't mean I'm gonna pass my actual driving test, but it's just giving me that confidence that I needed, because when I tell you all last week, whenever I would think about even doing this mock test today, I would get so nervous. So the thought of like my actual test, I wouldn't even want to think about it, because yeah, the stress of it is just ridiculous. But yeah, I feel a lot better now. My instructor says that I am a really good driver. It's just like little things that I do sometimes are just a little bit silly, basically. So I feel so happy, and I've got another lesson on Thursday and then my driving test is on Monday. I'm excited now. Like, I just want to get it over and done with. I really hope that I pass, and I think I've got a good chance of passing. Like I say, anything could happen. So pray for me. I know that no one's going to see this, but yeah. Also, I just wanted to mention that I've never gotten this close to a test date before and actually have been ready, or everything's gone well enough to take the test. So I've booked my test like maybe 3-4 times before this, but there's always been something. So either my driving instructor said that he's no longer doing lessons like 5 weeks before a test, so I've had to reschedule it. And then when it's come up to that next rescheduled day, I've not been able to get an instructor, so I had to push it back again. So this is the first time in like 2 years that I've been trying to do a test that it's actually going to happen. So that's also why it's like a bit nerve-wracking, but yeah, I just thought I'd add that little bit in there. But yeah, bye. I don't really feel like I have many tips to give because it did take me such a long time to learn to drive, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why I did actually pass first time. But if I do have any tips to give, it would be to watch YouTube videos on like mock tests, any specific things that you feel that you need a bit more work on. You probably know about these channels already because they are really big on YouTube, but I watched a lot of content from DGN Driving and Clearview Driving as well. I watched their mock tests religiously. I feel like I watched like all of them. But they're just so helpful because like obviously both of them, Pin Binny and Aman, they both obviously talk about what the learner did wrong, what they could improve on, what they should have done in that situation. So that is just so helpful. Some other channels I watched after like searching up specific things that I needed to learn to drive: Travis, Conquer Driving and World Driving. So like all 5 of those channels massively helped me, I think, with like my knowledge and also even like technique and things. And also you probably, well, you don't realise it in the moment, but all of the information that they're like talking about and things that you're seeing really does come in useful when you're actually driving, because you just sort of sometimes just do things without even like really thinking about it because you've taken in all of that knowledge from watching the videos. I actually did end up purchasing Pin Binning's Ultimate Driving course. He's always plugging the Ultimate Driving course. I think it was maybe like £35 or a little bit less. And I went through all the modules on that, and again that I think did help me, but I don't actually think that was necessary. I don't think that you have to necessarily pay for stuff like that. I think you can find all that information online. I'm a bit of a nerd in terms of I like to revise, and I like to like go through things in like a very structured way, so that really did help me. So should we talk about the actual driving test. I feel like I rambled on loads and you guys probably just like, I just want to know about the fucking test. So I'm going to put up my results on the screen here so that you can see the minors that I got. I actually only got 8 minors, which is again shocking. I don't have much faith in myself, do I? I need to stop saying that. It's not shocking. I think I actually am a good driver. Right, so we get there in good time. I had a lesson before the test like you usually do. So we get to the test centre and oh my god, parking in the test centre was horrendous. I just couldn't do it. And then you're meant to like park it like nicely so the instructor sees it, and you know they have to inspect it, and you just want it to look, you don't want it to be wonky, not in the lines or anything like that, because they all know that you've driven to the test centre. So my instructor actually ended up taking over the wheel for me and like parked it so it was nice and neat. So bad, but grateful to her. And the instructors all come out like maybe 10 minutes late, so we're out of the car at this point and I'm like shitting, but they all come out as a group. They all start like calling names out. I think there's maybe about 6 or 7 cars and like learners all sort of parked near each other, and everyone's standing about with their instructors. And you can tell everyone's like nervous and stuff. My name is the last to be called. I think he did wait till last because I was like a bit nervous about saying my name. So he waited till last and he was like, oh, I think I've got you, I don't want to say your name wrong. And I'm like, oh, it's Jatu, da da. I'm being really friendly and like trying to just be nice. And it's funny because when the invigilator was walking over, my instructor was like, oh, he's really nice, like you'll be fine, he's lovely. So I was like, okay, that's good, that made me feel better. And it was actually really nice. So he asked me the tell me question, which was, can you tell me how you would check that all of your indicators are working? Nice, easy question. Love that. So then he tells me to get in the car and he's going to walk around and examine the car. And then my instructor sort of walks off to the side. I don't know what she does or where she went. I don't know if she went inside the hotel because in Huddersfield the test centre was at Cedar Court. So I say bye to him, get in the car, put my seatbelt on and everything, make sure that I'm all fine, even though I was because I'd just done a lesson. And then he gets in, I make sure to do all my checks. And the drive was actually quite smooth, like I didn't feel that nervous, I actually felt quite calm. And I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad that my body and my mind was able to do that for me. I got signals. What it was he told me to turn left and I clicked the right signal up by accident. My hand just went and like I flicked it up by accident and then flicked it back down really quickly, and I actually said, oh sorry, I didn't mean to do that, it was an accident. Next one is junctions, cutting corners. Now I actually really don't recall where this was. I don't know where it was that I cut a corner. I'm not saying that I didn't do it because obviously I did, but I just don't know where it was. I really can't remember. Even like, because they send the results through like straight away, even then I was like, oh, I don't know where that was. Progress, undue hesitation. This was at a roundabout, so roundabouts were and still are like the thing that I just don't like. It was at the roundabout at Greenhead Park, at the top of Greenhead Park. If you're from Huddersfield then you'll know. And I just couldn't tell when they were going straight and when they were turning round, and actually got a beep from the van behind me, and that like I don't know if this is the case or not, but that told me to go. And like thank him for being behind me. Now actually, should this not have been as serious because the van behind me beeped? Maybe this is why my instructor was saying that he's so nice, the invigilator, because I think maybe it was a little bit lenient. I hope not, but you know, I think that's what she meant. So anyway, I wasn't holding up traffic for a long time, but it was just, yeah, undue hesitation. Response to signals, traffic signs. So this was when we were heading back up to Cedar Court, and it's a really big roundabout, but it's traffic light controlled, so it's a red light. So I stopped, but the lights change really quickly. So when it goes green, like maybe the 2-3 cars go, and then it goes to amber and it's going to turn red. And I was really worried about like going through a red light or something, so I stopped quite suddenly. But really I probably should have just gone. But luckily there were no cars behind me, so I think that's why I got away with this one, and it was just a minor rather than a serious. Controlled stop. So this is the emergency stop. I have definitely done much better emergency stops in my lessons, The one on my test, it was quite a quick stop, but it wasn't quick enough really. And he did say in the feedback afterwards that I might have like broken an old lady's legs rather than killed her. But it could have been a bit quicker. So we get back to the test centre, and I'm thinking he's not done a show me question. And as we're coming in, he asked me to use the horn. So that was a nice easy one. I did that, you know, that's easy to do. And I also was thinking he's not asked me to do a manoeuvre yet, and I was just thinking, oh, maybe because they were running late, he's not like gonna ask me to do a manoeuvre. I thought that I got away with it stupidly, because obviously they have to do a manoeuvre. Anyway, we get back to the test centre car park. I can see my instructor standing there. I can see like other people maybe waiting for their test, or they've just finished it, I don't know. The manoeuvre he asked me to do was to reverse park in one of the bays where there was like other people, my instructor watching, and I was like, no, absolutely not. Because reverse parking is just, and it still is, not my forte at all. And we didn't really practice that much beforehand, which, kicking myself now because it would have come in handy if we did. Anyway, I do my best attempt at reverse bay parking, right? It is so shoddy. I eventually get in between the lines, but like I had to readjust it. I was so nervous, and I think you could tell. Like, throughout the whole test I was absolutely fine until this point. I was panicking. So I eventually get it in the line, but that was just a mess. So I got 2 minors for that, for like control and for observation. I was really trying to do the observations. If I'd taken any longer to do it, I think he probably would have failed me on that, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so we ended the test there, and it didn't feel long at all. Everyone, like in all the videos that I've seen, said, oh, the test felt like it went so quickly, and it did. So he starts doing the feedback, and my instructor like comes over, and I think she's trying to open the door, but because I'm so like, I don't realise what she's doing, so I don't open the door, so she doesn't hear the first bit of the feedback, and then she eventually just opens it and I realise what she was trying to do. But he tells me that I passed like straight away. He's like, you've passed. And I'm like, what? I was so shocked because I really thought that I'd failed it on the reverse parking. And so I like start to cry a little bit. Oh, so funny. Honestly, it was just such a shock to hear that I'd passed. Because I was really expecting the worst. Even though, like I said, that I did feel quite confident and stuff, I still wasn't psyching myself up to pass, if that makes sense. I was just trying to be like, just get through it, just do your best sort of thing. So he hands me my pass certificate, he writes it out, he hands me this leaflet as well. And yeah, I just could not believe it. Like, that bit of shock for the first like few seconds. My instructor like takes a picture of me, I'll insert that here. And then thank God instructors drive you back home after the test, because I could not have driven myself back home after that. Like, the adrenaline and like emotions were just so high, and I was just so grateful to my instructor. I remember like thanking her loads, and yeah, it was just, oh, so good. And I'm so happy. Like, thinking about it now, I've not really thought about it much because obviously it's been 6 months since. So yeah, that was my driving test story and like the build up to it and everything. If you are learning to drive and you've got a test coming up soon, definitely watch them videos, like I say, and just try to get as much practice as you can. And just don't stress about it. I think if you really try and just be calm on the day of your test, you'll be fine. If I was able to pass my test, then you definitely can. I hope you either enjoyed this video or got something out of it. I don't know. So yeah, good luck guys, thank you for watching, see ya.